Hey, friends, welcome back to the Hope Pandemic Podcast. I am your host, Jessica Gillum, and I am so glad you're here. I am sitting down today with a Wonder Woman. That's what she calls herself. And after today's conversation, I certainly think that you'll think the same thing, right? So her name is Kristin Kurtz. She's a hope igniter. And obviously, there was a natural synergy here when I'm a hope spreader, right? I want to make hope contagious. And she wants to light that fire of hope for women, especially. She calls herself a trailblazer, and she is the voice behind another podcast called Hope Unlocked. But before she was coaching women and hosting this podcast and living, honestly, a faith journey every day, she was living a Russian roulette lifestyle in corporate America. You wouldn't know it if you looked at her. But she has overcome addiction and has quite the testimony, all of which we're not going to touch on today. But she later found herself trapped in a different type of addiction that I think we can all say we've probably been in at one point in our time. The socially acceptable cage called corporate success. So her story of leaving her job as the primary breadwinner to step into her wild and free coaching business, it's going to challenge you. I mean, even still, it challenged me, and I've stepped away from what was considered normal for my industry, and I'm doing something a little bit different myself. So I hope that when you tune in today, that whether you can relate directly to her story, that there's going to be something that she's going to speak that's going to unlock. She actually is known for unlocking things in women specifically. So, whether you are male or female, I believe this is going to speak to you prophetically. So, cozy in, grab whatever it is that you like to sip on. Maybe you're driving in the car to work. Maybe you need a break from the normal podcast. I really hope that you enjoy this conversation between Kristen and myself, and maybe think a little bit differently about your life and what you feel like you're called to. Kristen, it's great to have you on. I want you to share a little bit with the audience about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so the Lord calls me a woman of wonder. That's probably my main identity statement and a daughter of discovery. I'm a very curious person, always have been. And beyond that, I love people. Like I love connecting with people. So it's kind of fun to be on the other end because I typically am interviewing people. So it's been really fun just even chatting with you ahead of time. Because I deeply love deep connections. Like I am not a surface level person, which not everybody's about that, right? So I'm a mom. I have two kids that are miracles. I was told I couldn't have kids. Got pregnant after I was saved from addiction at 25 and had two miscarriages back to back. And my boys are now 17 and 20. I probably shouldn't call them boys. They're like young men now. And then I'm married to a husband, and we've been together for 29 years, which is kind of crazy. And yeah, I got saved a year after we got married, and he's still what I call a pre-believer. So, anybody want to pray over him? That'd be amazing.
Absolutely, we
Um,
will.
yeah, and then beyond that, like I worked in the corporate world for a long time and left back in 2021. Been a life coach, aka spiritual midwife, locksmith. These are some of the words he's given me.
Well,
Um,
tell people like what is that to someone who's totally naive to
yeah,
this? What does
yeah,
that
for
mean?
sure.
Spiritual locksmith, midwife.
So the midwife aspect that he showed me, so it's in essence, if anybody knows about life coaching, we don't really tell people what to do. It's really partnering with heaven, at least in the Christian life coaching aspect. We partner with Holy Spirit. It's almost like a three-way conversation. And for a long time, I was just, operating in this Christian life coach thing. And as I've worked with people, the spiritual midwife aspect kind of came about when I got off a call with somebody and she's like, it's almost like you have a spiritual ultrasound and you're literally like discovering what is within me that needs to be birthed. And I was like, that makes so much sense. So it's like this, it's such a strong desire. Like I live for this, if this makes sense. What I've discovered is that there's this process that I get to work with of discovering that you're pregnant with purpose. Like I believe that people know they have a purpose, but a lot of times they maybe don't know what it is, or they think it's beyond themselves, or there's fear, or so many different facets, right?
Yeah.
You get to discover what that thing is, develop it, and then deliver it because as a midwife, the last thing I want to do is see women like self-abort.
Hmm. Yeah. What are
Yeah.
some of the things that cause women to do that?
Fear is one of them. Um, for the wild, I would say that they're more the wild ones that I tend to work with. I call them the wild ones. So they're maybe given something that is way beyond them. Like for me, starting a podcast, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I can relate.
sure,
Yeah.
God, So imagine like a woman being given an assignment and it's beyond her. And maybe this woman doesn't have people in her life who speak truth or speak hope or speak love into whatever it is like she's been given to carry and then deliver. I like to call them the well-meaning people.
Yeah.
The but what if people, the plan B people. Like
Mm.
they just don't understand. So sometimes one of the things I tell clients is like you maybe don't want to tell everybody right away what you're carrying.
Right.
It's something really like if you're carrying multiples that it's going to be very stretching, you may not want to tell everybody, like have a very small, you know, room, like the birthing room. You don't let
Yeah.
everybody into the birthing room. Um, So it's kind of that, I would say that's a big part. And a lot of times it can be the people closest to you. It can be your
Oh, yeah.
spouse, it can be your family, it can be your close friends, your church. I mean, it could be really anybody. And it can be really surprising the people that actually, the enemy is the enemy. People aren't the enemy. I don't, I want to just mention that. But there's
Yeah.
going to be so many different things as you're kind of stepping into something that's going to try to like throw you off course. And then I get to be like, okay, what did God say?
Yeah.
I call myself the but God said coach. What did God say? And that's where we're going. We're going to follow him no matter what anybody says, no matter what like landmines come across your way. We're going for
Hmm.
this. And sometimes it pivots. Sometimes somebody might for example, without sharing who it is. Like somebody might have a book in them. They think the book is for this now season, but then maybe God's like, no, you're doing a podcast first. And they're like, we just follow his flow, you know?
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, I was thinking as you were saying that the visual was Elizabeth in the Bible. It's like, I mean, her husband, really question. I don't have my Bible in front of me, but, question it. So he was struck, not able to speak because the power of your words and coming against a promise of God. And I loved, I was reading her story several months ago around Easter, and I know that she kept herself away while she was in the like first trimester of her pregnancy. And the Bible only tells us like when Mary came to her and she heard Mary speak was when she felt the baby leap. We don't know if she felt the baby until that point.
Right.
Like she was walking a faith journey and everything said, you're too old, you're too this, you're too that. It's never happened. Your husband's not even talking. What's going on here? So you
Yeah.
do have to guard the deposit, the God deposit.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's such a good way to put it, like guarding the God deposit. I love that.
So you were in healthcare. I mean, like you haven't always done life coaching. I mean, where was the nexus or your crossroads moments where you were like, I either don't want to do this anymore, or you felt like there was something more for your life, a bigger call?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So, I went through coaching school back in 2017 and I loved it. I feel like I've kind of always been a coach. Like people come up to me in the grocery store and basically tell me their whole life story. I just have such a heart to see people like moving forward, helping them keep going, right?
Yeah.
Um, working in the corporate side of healthcare, um, there's a lot I could say.
It's
Um,
corporate. You don't think you need to say
I
anything?
mean, I felt like I was literally in a cage, and I'm like I actually have a tattoo on my arm that's a cage with a dove coming out of it as a prophetic reminder that I got in 2020 because I just kept hearing like every day it was like there's more, there's more, there's more, there's more. And I knew that God had me there for a purpose,
Mhm.
like there was a purpose and I can look
Right.
back now and see the turning point, we'll just say, was the pivot point was in 2020, honestly, when the COVID war began. And prophetically, I was seeing things in that space that, I mean, I already like was kind of out of element because I'm very holistic working there.
Mhm. Mhm.
But if for some of you guys who are listening, maybe you're working at a job because you need money, you need benefits, and it's safe. I call it the safe place, right?
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
where I found myself. I
Mhm.
honestly looked at, circumstances and I was like, well, there's no way I could like leave this job unless I had something else lined up. But things started getting really out of alignment, and I've shared some of this on my own podcast if you wanted to go listen to the deeper story of why I left. But in 2021, I heard my spirit so loudly like go, and I knew it was like it's time to go. It's time to leave this space. But there was going to be a time that I had to wait because my husband said no. And I said, "Oh." It was like go, no, oh. And I knew that I needed my husband's backing. I wasn't just gonna like, you know,
Yeah.
against that. But there was a huge like there's so much I could say without saying too much, but there was a huge thing that happened that I was like sitting outside and I'm crying and my husband comes home from work and he's like, "What just happened?" And I told him and he's like, "Just quit." And it literally felt like in the spirit, like the chains literally were breaking off me, and I was able to like fly out of that coop,
Now
the
we know why the cage bird sings.
corporate
Yeah.
cage. Yeah. And I mean, I had so many like tangible things happen because there was some a little fear that would come up, like, oh, you're
What
not
did you
ready
just
for that.
do? Yeah.
Like you don't have 25 months of backing of finances like Dave Ramsey says you need to have before you leave things.
Yeah.
Anyways, I mean, I was on a walk and I had such a confirmation. I'm like, Lord, I need you to really show me, like, is this the right next step? And I kid you not, there was like ch broken chains on the road on my walk on my lunch break, and I knew that I was called to leave. And that last day of work, I went to the office, went and picked up my stuff, and I had ordered myself a prophetic necklace from a company called Crowning Jewels. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I've often bought something from there when there's a very significant transition happening in my life.
Yeah.
And the necklace was late. Okay. So it was like 2 weeks late arriving.
Mhm.
And I came home the day that I left the job, opened up my mailbox, and there was the necklace along with a postcard. And you know what it said? It said brave obedience.
Wow.
And I almost fell over. So I knew it was going to be a wild journey, and it's been almost 4 years now, since leaving. And I know that a big part of this whole looking back, even on the last 4 years, it's really getting in alignment with your assignment.
Yeah.
So many years I was so out of alignment, and he can use us anywhere.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But like I'm fully walking this out. Like I call it soar in your calling. Like I'm literally soaring. And I was previously in a cage with my wings clipped.
I know, and it's interesting that you chose a dove for your tattoo because it's almost like an eagle in a cage. And, their wingspan, I was doing this study once on eagles, and what they do is they make the most of the draft. And
Hmm.
the Lord spoke to me one time that I'm drafting you for elevation. And so it was like drafting for the army, but then also I'm sending you something to get you up higher. And, the charge is always really to come up higher when things are hard and see where he sees. And of course, the eagle is able to see from a greater distance than most other birds. But,
Yes. Yeah.
um, you know, so you've been on a faith journey, brave obedience.
Yeah.
Gosh, did anything catch you off guard from the moment you picked up that necklace and that postcard in the mailbox to today? I mean, go in a little bit deeper on that.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been an easy journey, and I don't want anybody to think that like I'm probably like I call myself the real and raw one. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna be straight real, and I believe that, we talked a little bit before we got started, this perseverance word, like I I feel like in my blood, like I'm just built for perseverance, not giving up, like being tenacious, being like you said the word grit earlier, like I'm just built with it. But there's been moments that have tried to literally like kick my feet from under this, like moving forward and stop me. And, again, like what I said with some of these women that I work with, like, oh, you better go back and get a job because you're not like the financial aspect or different things that we're kind of coming against. Like, I don't know if you've seen Wonder Woman, but I love the part where she's like coming out of the trenches and there's like all these bombs and she's just like, I'm going in.
Yep.
Um, there's been so much grace on this. There's been, like I I haven't had a ton of people like come up against what I'm doing. I mean, I definitely have, but in the end, like he's deposited so many like awe and wonder miracles along the way when I'm maybe having some of those. We talk about hope. Like I'm a hope igniter.
Yeah.
We're both doing the hope thing.
I know.
And the very thing that we're called to like release often is going to be attacked. So there's been moments of hopelessness where um it's like, is this really worth it? Because you maybe focus too much on the circumstances or you focus too much on, I come out of accounting. I did accounting. Okay. So
Sounds so
sometimes
boring.
sometimes when you're following God, things don't make sense. Just sometimes
Oh,
on
100% of the
paper.
time. I feel
Okay.
like that.
So
Yeah. And it's so funny that you say that because I actually had a dream last week that my pastors gave me this card and it said from Stick Woman to Wonder Woman on it. And so when you're saying all the stuff about Wonder Woman, I totally get that. Like it's setting your face like flint toward your calling.
yes.
And the reason why I am really drawn to horses a lot is because, they put their blinders on and they run their race.
Yes.
They do not look to the left or the right. They don't spooky. They are there for the win. And in some cases, win is just finishing, and in other cases it's trophy season, so um,
Yes.
I
Well,
get
have you
it.
seen the movie Secretariat? I just happened to watch
Yeah,
Secretariat
it's like one of my
like
favorite movies of all
just
time.
several months ago. It's like been an assignment for clients because, man, I
I can't
mean,
watch it without crying because there's so much prophetic implication in it. And I feel like, a lot of times I feel like I'm the one that believes it. I'm the penny chinnery, and I see these horses and I'm like, that is a winner if they could just see that they could win.
exactly.
Like if they could just run and like also it's that unhindered, unbridled strength that they carry. But I think the biggest I'm going to just call it motivator because the word I want to use is frustration. But the biggest motivator for me is to help people see like you do have the spirit of a champion in you and just helping them you know, like against push back against all odds, not what your family of origin said, not what your old boss said, not what your friends think you are, because everyone wants to keep you siloed into something that is honestly, the old version of you, the comfortable version of you. But there's a calling and an assignment on your life that is for the glory of God.
Yeah.
And I think, I can definitely relate to your story in that I was in a season at my job where I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And I loved God. And even though I wasn't living my life like sold out for the Lord, I was so hungry for things to be in right order in my life because I was missing peace. And which
Mm,
is funny because that right there is a phrase, missing pieces, right?
yeah.
So it's like I was missing peace, Peace. And as soon as I chose peace, he gave me the missing pieces, you know? Um,
Mhm.
but you have described like being in the season of like supernatural peace in the midst of
Yeah.
faithing, like your Abraham journey, or even your crossing the Jordan, maybe to get to your promised land.
Yeah.
Um, what does that peace feel like? Do you wake up in the mornings where you start to feel panic and then you constantly have to take your thoughts captive, or are you just like zooming through life on slow motion? Going like, I'm in perfect peace. It's chaos everywhere, but I am so chill right now. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, I would say so this out of the last 4 years, this has probably been one of the harder years in
Mm,
general. But if I look at, I'm just going to read a verse that he had me to focus on.
yeah.
And I know that some, you know, I was like, okay, well, all right, we'll focus there. And it truly has been like a guiding light. I'm just going to read it in the ESV because I happen to have that one up.
Okay.
Count it all joy. James 1, 2 through 3 will be
Mm,
there. Count it
yep.
all joy. Like
Times.
it. All joy. And I'll keep going, but count
Yeah.
it all joy, my brothers and sisters, when you meet trials of various kinds. And I know in another translation it's many kinds, many kinds. Because, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, or we could say perseverance, grit, we'll add in all these words.
Hmm.
And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. That was what I was to really focus on in one of the J months. I was telling you before we got started, like the J months of 2025 have been like I won't even go there. They're just like testing, like complete. Are you going to go back? Are you going to give up? Are you going to lose hope? And in those times, you asked about peace. Did I lose peace at times? Absolutely. But when I look back, 5 years ago, I would have just been straight unpieced completely unpieced for the whole month. And like I've learned get in the word, worship, workout. I mean, I have all these keys that he's given me to keep me in alignment, but also to go to another verse that he's had me focus on, which is Proverbs 31:25,
Hmm.
which is strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time to come. So, in another translation, it says she has no fear of the future, I think is how it goes. And he just kept showing me like face the future, face the future. Don't look at what's happening right now. Just face the future, because he kept showing me, and this is maybe for somebody, I know it's for you too.
Hmm.
But at one time in one of these J months, I heard, you are a faith giant who is facing giants. And going
Yeah.
back into like, Caleb and Joshua, they had a band of brothers, 12 of
Hmm.
them, the spies,
Yeah.
who went in. And then there was like the 10 spies network that they turned that channel off. And two out of the 12, I like to joke around like they were coaching each other. Like,
Yeah.
"No, we're good. We're good. No, are
We're
you
well able.
like,
We got
what do you
this.
see? What do you see here? Oh
Yeah.
no, they're like our breakfast. Okay, let's tell everybody." And I mean, that's how I feel he's kind of infused me to be. like a Joshua and a Caleb in
Mhm.
essence. And I
Yeah.
see those giants. And I mean, just even like what we're experiencing in our world right now, like there's so much going on that rattles. Like I get rattled. I mean, I'm telling you, I get rattled. There's like this righteous anger that rises up in me.
Yeah.
Help me to be like a peaceful warrior. So
Mhm.
there's this conundrum that happens in me where it's like peaceful fighter.
I know because you have to, and the Lord was speaking to me about that this morning, and I mean, it's September 11th on the day of this recording. So everyone who listens to this knows what's happened on the 11th and knows what's happened on the 10th. But I mean, he was speaking to me about love, and you can prophesy, you can speak in tongues, you can do all of these things, but if you have not love, then you're just as a resounding gong or cymbal, like you're just making noise. And I'm all, what the world
Yeah.
needs,
Yes, I know.
and it's like, but we're constantly having
True.
to fight our flesh in the way we want to feel because, you know, and I go back to my grandmother, she's the one that would tell me to keep persevering. And I shared with you, I'm like, I don't like that word. It has the word severe in it. Like, I want easy. I don't want persevere, and it's like, we
Yeah.
have to remember that vengeance belongs to the Lord, and God is just as, you know, probably in many ways heartbroken, but I stand on Romans 8:28 that God will cause all things to work together for good to those who loved him and are called according to his purpose. And so I agree with everything that you're saying for sure.
Well, and you can, I mean, you can look at that like in all these, 828, I told you I see things on license plates all the time. So during these moments where I've had a lot of, storms going on and maybe the peace tries to get shook, he's constantly speaking to us
Yeah. Yeah.
and pointing our eyes, I like to call it a chin check, like, rather than being downcast or like navel gazing to like, okay, chin check, like, are you looking down or are you looking up at me? And um, there's like I said, there's so much going on in our world. And I remember somebody talking about like back in probably 100 years ago in a newspaper, like people back then like didn't even like the amount of information that we're getting.
Oh, it's
We're
exponential.
not, we're not, our bodies can't actually handle it. So like we need God. We
Yeah.
we also need to like turn things off. I don't
Yeah.
watch the news. I kind of get I get information from certain resources, but that'll rock your peace if that's all you're listening to. I don't know why I'm going here right now, but I feel like get off social media, get off
Yeah.
news, get off the newspaper, like go out in nature. Like for me, I need to be out in nature. I need to lay in my hammock and, just kind of pretend I'm like at a cabin in the middle of nowhere and like
Yeah.
on the beach, just soak with him.
Yeah, we have to set our minds on things above and not things below because
Mhm.
it's, it's very easy to get shaken no matter what your strength, I'll just call it strength of faith is in today's society. And um, I was having a conversation with my mother this morning, and I was like, you just need to turn the TV off and turn the worship music on, or find five thought leaders in Bible today, or listen to a podcast. You need to get some encouraging messages on because it's it does create a tornado of thought, and you just that anything that's a cycle is not from God, right? Like the Israelites wandered around, I mean, and we are at this precipice of such a pivotal time. And moving back to your calling and how you help women is, if you look at the wind and the waves, you'll never start the assignment. If you'll wait for someone else's approval, you'll never get it. And don't shrink yourself down into a version of you that's comfortable for other people, because when you're not challenging yourself, it keeps them comfortable because now they don't have to be challenged. Or they, we are all faced with a choice. We can stay the way we are, we can grow and we can get better and we can pursue the high call. But
Yes.
a lot of times, like every time that I've leveled up in life, I've lost all my friends and I've gotten new friends,
Yeah.
but it's just that new seasons, new tribes,
Yeah.
and it's to your point, it's like, I personally don't want to. I think about that graveyard of dreams that were never born because something got in the way or some opinion of some person that really doesn't matter, from an eternal perspective, told
Yeah.
you couldn't do it. And
Exactly.
that's what I love about, even Secretariat. Like nobody bet on that horse. They thought, and she was like, she did her research. She saw the diamond in that horse and she was like, that horse is the winner. And that's the horse that I want. And of
Yeah.
course, God, you could say it's the movie, you could say it's coincidence. I prefer to look at everything through the lens of my faith. And so it's like God teed that up,
Yeah.
and it was, I mean, a
I
triple
know.
crown record. And then one of the things that was so amazing is like this year in the Kentucky Derby, every horse was related to Secretariat.
No, and I had no idea until after I watched the movie, and it was like the timing of watching that. I was like, just her believing in
Mhm.
Secretariat, like the ripple effect from that, right?
Right. I mean, like a legacy of champions born from one,
Yeah.
and I mean, so if that tells you anything about your calling and your purpose, like who are the people, if you have a hard time thinking about it being you, being the champion, like think about the people that you're also meant to lead that are waiting on you to say yes,
Yeah.
waiting on you to run your race so that they can come behind you and run with you. That's
Yeah.
powerful.
I tell people that all, I love how we're very aligned. And you have this gold digging
I'm
capability
a
as
gold
well.
digger, but not in
I
the way
tell my people I'm a gold
Jay
digger, but I
says.
don't have that on my profile. I just thought I'd
Yeah.
leave that off. It's kind of like in the background, but yeah, I tell people like people are waiting on you. People are just waiting on your full yes for you to do the thing that he called you to, you know?
Yeah, I think about people in my life that make possible happen for me. Like my pastor once spoke a word, word of the year was possible. And that was in the year when everything looked impossible to me. Like I had left, very similar to your path. I had left. I needed to wait for my husband's blessing. The Lord showed off there. As soon as we came into alignment about what was best for our family, God started providing through him. And, we were able to re-architect because there were a lot of things that need healing in our marriage and in our family. And then, moving into someone saying possible over you when your circumstances don't look possible, but it does, it ignites something. You're like, I can get back up, I can keep running, I'm still in the game. It
Yeah.
doesn't look the way I thought it was, but for me, I feel like hope, and I've said this on the first episode, but I feel like hope is, I just have this, you can call it radical belief or delusional belief that this is not all there is, and that I haven't yet seen all the goodness of God in my life. And so I'm going to keep going and looking and searching for that thing. And it does require, you do have to slay some giants
Yeah. Every day.
every day, y'all.
We slay every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, talk to me about Isaiah 61 and the way you feel about that verse and how it's,
Yeah.
tell me about that.
Let me read it because
Yeah.
I think it's for somebody. I've been really sitting with Isaiah quite a bit lately. So Isaiah 61, I just love I just love it. And I feel like it's for you and for many who are listening. But the
Mhm.
Spirit of the Lord God is upon me because the Lord has anointed me to bring the good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and the opening of the prison door to those who are bound.
Mhm.
It's this.
Yeah.
There are so many people that are bound, and I was one too. I
Yeah.
was there. I mean, I like I said, I got saved from addiction when I was 25, didn't grow up in church. I won't go into that whole story, but
Yeah.
I was truly bound, and it's been a journey to get unbounder. It's not
Yeah.
over, but it's been a journey. It's not been like, I got instantly radically delivered from addiction, but it's been a journey of this, being unbound from things that have tried to hold me captive. And because of
Yeah.
that, I have such a heart to help others, like, from the pit to the palace type thing. I call
Yeah.
myself like a pit puller, like somebody's in a pit, like I want to help you get out. Now, do I love working? Like I would say I like working with people who wouldn't consider themselves stuck because I don't believe we're necessarily stuck.
Hmm.
Some of you just need to get off the bench.
Yeah.
Like you know what you're supposed to do. But again, like sometimes we just need somebody like helping discover what that thing is. What is the gold in you?
Yeah, you
Who
need a
are you?
penny generate.
Like some people don't like honestly, like until I was about 40, I'm 47 now. I feel like that was when I started coming into the fullness of who he created me to be, and I'm still learning. Like when people would say, "Well, who are you?" I would say I would list off all the things I do, and now when people say like, "Who are you? Tell us more about you." It's that identity like piece of, yeah, I'm a woman of wonder, I'm a daughter of discovery, like, and then it flows from there into what I do. My do isn't who I be. You know what
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think it's the world's way. Maybe it's our upbringing too, partially, but the value you contribute is your worth, and that's not the way God sees you.
I mean?
You're valuable because you're his son and his daughter.
Yeah,
And I think when you realize like the inheritance that you like, if you really truly, if you can grasp one thing, and that one thing is to know that you're a son and a daughter of the Most High God, right?
yeah,
That really anything is possible.
yeah,
It's just we live in this matrix of not knowing who we are and not knowing, like, is there more for me, or am I just going to earn a little measly paycheck until it's time to go to heaven? And what does all that look like? And
yeah,
really, when you can take the lid off, I think sometimes people put the lid on you. Sometimes it's your own lid that you've put on you. But if
yeah,
you can believe that anything is possible with God, then you can really start to see things that you've never seen before in your life, and they're amazing things.
amazing, amazing.
So, I mean, we've kind of like, I
We've
feel like
been we've been
we,
on a journey.
we're on a journey. It's a
Yeah,
yellow brick road journey, but we've got to wrap up, and I feel like we just barely cracked the surface. But for someone who's like, let's distill it down into someone who may be like where we were, and they're just living this job. They're driving that commute every day kills. They miss their family. They know
mm,
God has more for them. They're
yeah,
stuck in this 9 to 5, honestly feeling depleted, miserable.
mm,
Like, let's get practical for her. Like, what I want you to get some keys out on your keychain, and what would you tell her today if she's just yearning for freedom? It's like she's on the edge of that diving board. She
yeah,
needs to jump in the water, but she's still like she's afraid because it's a high dive.
yeah. That's quite a visual because I literally felt like I was jumping off the 11th floor of the building I worked in with a backpack, and I just
Mhm.
believed that there was a parachute in there. I believe that, some people are called to jobs. Okay. So I'm not discounting like because I'm not like I literally have like an entrepreneur spirit and it's always been in me.
Mhm.
I believe that you could be in a job and maybe your more is writing a book. Maybe your more is starting podcasts. But your more is going to come from him. So you're going to need to ask him, like, start with him, right? Like, who am I? Like, are there gifts in me that have yet to be tapped?
Mhm.
Like, because a lot of times when you're, at least for me, when I was working full time with a family, kids in sports, like just chaos and have a business, you don't really take time to like sit down and try to discover what that thing is. At least I didn't really. I was just kind of chasing different things. I was chasing after like a paycheck and chasing after different things. And when I started to discover these keys that he's given me to like unlock people, everybody's been given keys.
Yeah.
I believe it. I like he created us with a purpose for a purpose. Like it sounds cliche, but it's not. So if there's this like tension of like, I don't think I belong here anymore, pay attention to it because you don't want to stay in a prison.
No.
It truly is a prison, honestly.
Well, and before you can set other people free, you have to be set free. And that's just
Yeah.
taking Jesus's hand and walking out of the thing.
Yeah. Some
It's
of you might hear this today and go, I need to quit my job.
mm.
Don't, I'm not saying you need to quit your job though. That's the thing.
Yeah, no, we're
Hear me
not
on that.
advocating
If
like,
God is saying or has whatever he has said, if he said something a long time ago and you didn't, follow his leading, get again, always like I'm always going to point people back to him. Like,
yeah.
but maybe you have like a runway that you're going to start building because I like to talk about flying and soaring.
Hmm.
Have a runway, like a ministry, a business that you are to like start building alongside while you're working a job, potentially.
Yeah, side hustles are the new thing. Like I applied for a job this week and they asked me, and I was like, good for them because they were like, what's your work situation? And that's literally the question. And I'm like,
That
let me talk about that. Okay. And so I'm like, I have this part time, I have this, and I'm doing this, I'm starting this, and I have a podcast. And I was like, man, by the time I listed all that out, I was like, they're not going to hire me because I don't have time to do this job. But I needed to fill the form out.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Side hustles are great. That's what I'm saying is the side
and
hustle
there
is the main hustle.
and it could be like there's so many different elements. Like we're all different and I feel like there's you could do the side thing, you could fully leave, you could stay. I mean, there's different things you can be doing, but ultimately I like to say you need to be in your assignment, aligned with your assignment because but first you need to also know your identity, right?
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
you don't know who you are and you're just sitting in a cubicle like I was, just not knowing the fullness of who he created me to be, you're
Hmm.
not going to really know what you could be doing. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Like I'm a connector. I love talking.
Yeah.
I get in trouble in school all the time.
Because
So
we
the
want,
very thing that I got in trouble for, even in the workplace, by asking questions and why, what's the deeper meaning behind this? I got in trouble, but now I'm doing the very thing that he created me to be a woman of wonder because I'm very curious. I
hmm.
love talking to people. So I've got a podcast and I'm a life coach. I mean,
Yeah. That's,
and I was doing accounting before.
I don't know how you did that job, but I know we have to wrap up, but
Yeah.
I tell people how they can get, and I would love to have you back and have you unlock some things for people on another episode, but how, boil it down, how can they get in touch with you if they want to continue the conversation with you or they felt like something resonated and they really want to explore like you helping guide them on this journey?
So you can go to newwingscoaching.net. That's my website. You can book, I call it a free unlocking call, just to
Hmm.
see if we'd be a good fit. I'm one who is also kind of a resource distribution center. So if I'm not the right fit, I know other people who are. I'm not going to just always be the one that's like, I'm your girl. There could be somebody else that I know that might be a better fit. Uh,
Yeah.
I also have a podcast. Part of why I love, when I saw what you're doing, it's called Hope Unlocked, where you can get filled up there as well. And then you can find me on Instagram, renew, RENEW .wings, WINGS, or on Facebook under Kristin, KRISTIN. Make sure it's IN. Kurtz, KURTZ. You should be able to find me there. So
Great. Well, I've enjoyed this. I feel like it's been purposeful and yeah, absolutely that I can't wait to have you back.
thank you so much. It's been fun.
Mhm.
I
Like
appreciate it.
Wow, if Kristen's story stirred something in you today, I want you to know that whisper you're hearing, that is not crazy, that is not your voice. It's probably the Holy Spirit inviting you into something new. I want you to connect with Kristen if this resonated with you. Learn more about her coaching, or at a minimum, just tune into her podcast. It's called the Hope Unlocked podcast. She's got some upcoming book babies that she's helping to birth out through some of her coaching clients. And I'll have all of her links in the show notes. Trust me, you will want to continue to follow her journey. And hey, if this episode encouraged you, would you do me a favor? Share it with one friend who needs to hear that it's okay to leave the cage. I don't know what the cage is for that person, but even when it looks like success, screenshot this episode, copy the link, tag us both, and let's spread some hope. You can find me at thehopepandemic.com, or you can email me directly at thehopepandemicpodcast@gmail.com. I love to hear how this conversation helped you. Thank you for helping to spread hope. And remember, we are not surviving, we are thriving in the freedom that God created us for. I can't wait to see you next time.